हैं बादा मस्त बादा आशा में अहमदियत चलता है दौर मीना ओ जाम अहमदियत.
Actually, guys, we're gonna have a quick Khuddam night tonight, quicker than usual. There's no Khuddam talks as usual that we have. It's been going really well actually. Hamza been getting really good feedback. Sadr Khuddam Namdiya UK as well has been watching our videos, has been giving very positive feedback. So guys, it's because of you, you're all coming online, you're all wanting to participate, and that's what's making the show um, as good as it is. It can always get better, can always improve it. But alhamdulillah, we're on the right tracks. So it's only the first year, we're into the second year now, inshallah, we'll get better. Just want to let you guys know, Umar has made a catch up video of last month was it November? November, yeah. So November catch up a month. So we're going to send that video out soon. Watch it and share it amongst the Khuddam as well, because it's quite good. He's doing a good job. I'll say so myself. But today we have Khuddam night, we have Friday sermon, we have Hamza coming on a bit later, who will be doing an allegation corner, and also Zaryab with the Kahoot. So it's a quick one, but more discussion based really. And I'll just go to Kashif first, because Kashif was all part 3 of Hazrat Ali Rizal Anhu. And what a brilliant Friday sermon it was. You know, usually I go to Wolverhampton on Friday. Like I have a different Jamaat every Friday, but this Friday, like I was listening to it and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go in 5 minutes. Then Azur just relates another incident, and I'm like, okay, I'll go after that, go after that. So I kept listening until like I realized it was really late. So I had to jump into my car and drive to Wolverhampton Mosque. But we'll listen to your presentation and then we'll talk about it as well, because there's so many points that Azur mentioned that really need to be said again. So Kashif, yeah, quickly would you go over your presentation first? Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Aksalam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So Hazur, as Murbi Saab mentioned, was talking about Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, and uh, Hazur narrated that about that the bravery and the courage of Hazrat Ali at the occasion of Battle of Uhud. At this time, the angel Gabriel came to the Holy Prophet ﷺ and said about Hazrat Ali that he is certainly deserving of sympathy. The Holy Prophet ﷺ certainly he is of me and I am from him. Angel Gabriel replied that indeed I am from both of you. In the Battle of Uhud, the Meccans started claiming that they had martyred the Holy Prophet. Hazrat Ali was looking for his master. When he could not find him, he said that I did not find him among the martyrs, and the Holy Prophet could not have run away. Hence God must have raised Hence God must have raised him. Thus it is better for me to be martyred while fighting the enemy. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih commented that such was his immense love for the Holy Prophet, which started from early childhood and continued to manifest through his life. At the time of Treaty of Hud- Hudayb- Hud- Hudaybiyah, Hazrat Ali wrote that this contract is between Muhammad Rasulullah and some chiefs of Mecca. Meccans objected to the words of Rasulullah, saying that if we had accepted you as such, we would not be fighting you. The Holy Prophet ﷺ accepted their demand and asked Hazrat Ali to raise the word Rasulullah. However, out of his love, Hazrat Ali responded that I will, I will not be the person to erase these words. Thus, the Holy Prophet ﷺ did so himself, hence, the treaty was finalized. One day during the Battle of Khyber, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that today I will grant this flag to the person loved by Allah, His Messenger, and all Muslims. Many companions desired to have this honor, including Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu. When the Holy Prophet ﷺ saw Hazrat Ali, he awarded this honor to him. At this time, Hazrat Ali's eyes were badly hurt. The Holy Prophet ﷺ replied, applied his own saliva to the eyes of Hazrat Ali to cure them instantly. Thus, the castle of Khyber was won at the hands of Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. Hazrat Ali. Okay. We find an incident demonstrating high morals of Hazrat Ali at the occasions of Battle of Khyber. After fighting a famous warrior, Hazrat Ali overpowered him and was about to kill him when the person spat in his face. Hazrat Ali let him go. Astonished, I don't know what that says, but he asked Hazrat Ali why he did not kill him. Hazrat Ali replied that I was fighting you for the sake of Allah. Now that you have spat on me, I fear that I would kill you to satisfy my own anger instead of sake of Allah. The Holy Prophet ﷺ decided to leave Hazrat Ali behind at at the time of the Battle of Tabuk to protect the people. Hazrat Ali expressed his disappointment to the Holy Prophet ﷺ at not being able to accompany him. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said that are you not content that you are related to me as Prophet Aaron to Moses, except that there is no prophet after me? Jazakallah. End of presentation.
Kashif, is there anything that you learned in particular, any point that you feel that you can take from the Friday sermon this week?
The thing that I found very important or like eye catching was, as I just read, like when the enemy spat on his face, he was like, "I'm not gonna kill you because if I kill you, I will not be doing it for the sake of Allah. I'll do it out of anger, and I can't do that." So he just let him go because he knew he would do it out of anger, not for the sake of Allah.
Yeah, and to have that much control is crazy. Like you're already fighting for the cause of Allah, and you just literally to walk away from the person because your intention has changed. I found that amazing as well. Jazakallah Kashif. Well, Zaryab, I know it might have affected you as well in some way. How do you feel like
Yeah.
what have you learned from this week's Friday sermon?
One thing I think that strengthened I think was when the Sahaba said to Hazrat Ali that this woman hasn't got the letter. And Hazrat Ali was like, no, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said something, and that's it. There's no other way about it. It's right, and that's it. Because I think that's what that affects me was that Hazur is a Khalifa is a reflection of a prophet. So whatever he says and does, it's 100% bang on. So it makes you realize how strong and truthful their words are.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point you touched on actually, because with us, we're so lucky to live in the UK, and we're able to witness his all physical blessings, and we see like whatever he says, it comes to light. But you realize when you go a bit outside, in different jamaats, people start to question Khilafat, which is really wrong.
Yeah.
And then they hear that, okay, Huzur said this, and sometimes they question that, which we shouldn't do. But with Hazrat Ali, because he was like raised in the house of the Holy Prophet, he built that trust and that loyalty with him. That anything that the Holy Prophet would say, he would catch on to it and say, this is the final word. There's no two ways about it. And that's why he was so convinced that the lady did have the letter and he actually found it. So yeah, that's a brilliant point. I think for me, I don't know if anyone else wants to pick up on anything because Zur said so many things, but for me, the best one was when he related the story about the Battle of Uhud, and the enemies. They had a guy called Umar. He was called Umar, and this guy was such a ferocious beast that they say that this one man can take an army of 1,000. He can fight them easily, and they won't be able to defeat him. So in those days when they used to before battle, there were two armies would come together, and then one person from each army would come and they'll fight, and then they'll start the bigger fight. So this guy Umar, he came forward, big soldier, and even the own companions of the Holy Prophet, were a bit reluctant on fighting him because they knew his reputation, they knew who he was. So the person who did step forward was Hazrat Ali, and the Holy Prophet gave him his sword and said, go fight with this. So even that guy, the Umar guy, he said to him that, what are you? You're just a kid. Get me someone from your elders. It will be a shame that if I kill you. And as Ali goes to him that, you're ashamed of killing me, but I won't even hesitate for a second to kill you. Just straight away, he tried hitting him, hit him from the shoulder, and from the shoulder the guy died. And from that, everyone was taken aback. Like, how did this young kid, take out our best soldier? Just from that moment, that gave so much courage to the Muslims that they realized that Allah is really on their side. And for me, I think because we're all young, it's difficult, when you put in situations like that and you're asked to come forward. When you're young, you don't have that courage. You feel like, I'm a bit scared. Even when, like, for example, you have to relate this story to every moment of your life. Even, for example, when someone asks you to do some sort of work, sometimes people sit back or they slouch down in their chairs just so they don't be seen or they're not seen. But Hazrat Ali was the opposite, man. He was so like forefront. He just wanted to come forward and he just wanted to take part because he wanted to represent the Holy Prophet in the best way. And
Yeah,
yeah.
Sorry, Musa, I just wanted to point out, I think you can see why the Shia community are very forefront and, quite passionate about the belief about Hazrat Ali, because that's who they, that's their, that's the way they follow. You can see, because I've gotten a few Shia friends, and the way their passion is, it's quite, straight, strong, and just straightforward. No two ways about it.
Yeah, I do believe that's also from, I think it was mentioned towards the end about those people who are talking badly about Hazrat Ali in the mosque. And then the Holy Prophet says he realized that people were talking about him, and he looked at them like this, and they sat down and said, "Don't ever complain about Hazrat Ali, because Hazrat Ali to me is like the Harun of Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. When I'm gone, he will be the successor. So don't ever say anything against him." So I think just because the Holy Prophet defended him so much, and he defended him from his own people, that's probably why it's transcended upon the Shia community as well. That's a good point. Jazakallah. Jazakallah, guys. Wanted it to be a bit more discussion based today, because we'll keep it shorter, but it's always nice to talk to each and every one of you just to get your own views as well. Just before we go to the next section, just want to say salam to Saqib, Zubair, Mubariz, and Anas as well for jumping on today. Glad to have you on, and hope you guys are all doing well. Tika, Hamza, we'll go to you now. Hamza? Yeah, Hamza there. Hamza, sorry. I was being scared. I thought you left for a second.
Oh, no, I'm still here, man. Wait.
Hamza, how's things in Newcastle, man?
Bro, it's all right, man. Working life's very different, and it's very tiring compared to uni lifestyle and that.
Yeah.
It's okay though, man. You get used to it. It's good. It keeps you focused, but you're just tired all the time, innit?
Yeah. I think with you, we're getting like a series of K-Talks. We're seeing your whole journey. Usually we get someone just talking about their own career, but every week, alhamdulillah, we have the next page on your life.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same at the moment, but Allah is what it is.
Here's what it is.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So the allegation we're going to look at today is the Prophet Muhammad Islam did not know Arabic, thus his claim to prophethood is false. So the way I wanted to discuss this one was by going on probably the most reliable people aside from Prophet Islam, which were his companions. And one of these was Mirza Bashir Ahmad Saab, not to be confused with the son of the Prophet Islam. And he stated that all of the Arabic writings of the Prophet Islam were in the form of divine revelations with special support from Allah. And it stated that the Prophet Islam, he said, "Sometimes I write various words and phrases without having any knowledge of their meaning, and thereafter I look them up in the dictionary and get to know what they mean." Though he may not know every word or phrase, that's not to say he didn't know Arabic. For example, we all speak English, but none of us can claim that we know the meaning of every word in the English language. And then following on from this, the Prophet ﷺ would send copies of his manuscript to Hazrat Hakim Maulvi Nuruddin, the first Khalifa, anhu, and another companion, Maulvi Muhammad Ahsan Saab. And he would say to them, make amendments if there is room for improvement. So then the first Khalifa, anhu, he would return the writings in the same way, but Maulvi Muhammad Ahsan Saab, he would work hard and he would try to make amendments to certain words. And then when we delve deeper into it, we find that when the Prophet ﷺ says make amendments if there's room for improvement, this actually has a underlying subtle intention. So the Prophet ﷺ, he's then reported to have said, Maulvi Muhammad Ahsan Saab tried to make changes, but I know that the word what I will have used will be more eloquent and coherent than that of Maulvi Saab's words, and his will be weaker. However, sometimes I keep his suggested word so that he's not discouraged that all of his presented words were removed. So from this statement, Mirza Bashir Ahmed interpreted two key things: that the actual intention of the Prophet Islam was for members of his Jamaat to read and become acquainted with his writings, and then second, to understand the teachings and the purpose of the Jamaat. And then some of the opponents of the Prophet Islam, referring to these narrations I've just mentioned, they claim that from this, it shows that the Prophet Islam, he lacked divine knowledge of Arabic, and proof of this is that he used to send Arabic books to the companions and scholars for correction. But in response to this, there's another narration from Sirat al-Mahdi, when some people raise allegations, a different type of allegation, but against the diet of the Prophet ﷺ, a bit random, but it's relevant in this situation. So some people have objected to him, i.e. the Prophet ﷺ, about the intake of high calorie intake foods. How these ill-informed people do not know that he's an aged person suffering from various diseases. And in spite of all of this, he is single-handedly engaged in facing the entire world. Moreover, he is establishing a Jamaat with careful attention on each of its individuals. He's immersed in the work of reforming the Ummah and fighting a different kind of war with every religion. And then the key bit now, he is busy writing books day and night, not only in Urdu, but also in Persian and Arabic. Apart from writing them, he sees their copies and proofreads them, and also arranges for their publication on his own. So again, from this, we reiterate that the Prophet ﷺ wrote books in not just Arabic, but in other languages as well. And then, so from the words of proofreading, what we can actually infer is that the Prophet ﷺ, again, he wanted his companions and other scholars to become acquainted with his teachings. And this is shown perfectly again through another quote from the same book, Sirat al-Mahdi. He, i.e. the Prophet ﷺ, once said about an Arabic book that it should also be shown to Maulvi Nuruddin Sahib for proofreading after another one of the companions. And someone asked, what is the need for this? The Prophet ﷺ said, Maulvi Sahib reads my books less frequently. In this way, he'll be able to read them. So again, the underlying meaning behind proofreading is for his companions, for his people, to understand his books, understand his teachings. And then just coming on further onto that narration, so I'm sure some of us know that Khalifa, the first Khalifa, Hazrat Hakim Maulvi Nuruddin, he was actually a doctor as well. And it just helps to clarify that the Prophet ﷺ didn't actually need any help in writing Arabic books. He was always eager to spread all of the God-given knowledge of the Tabligh in that regard. But he was also very old, and he was also very busy, and he had patients from far and wide who used to comfort him for treatment. So he didn't have that much energy and time to read the books of the Prophet ﷺ. That's why, specifically, the Prophet ﷺ would send his books to him so that he may benefit from the writings, and again also become acquainted with his teachings. If the companions, if we just think of it, if we were at that time, if the companions had the slightest of doubt that some people were writing books for him, I mean, we'd think the Prophet ﷺ was a fraud. We think we wouldn't trust him. We wouldn't have this, the companions of the time wouldn't have that spiritual connection with him, and they wouldn't be willing to make the sacrifices that they made then with their lives, with their wealth, etc. And we still see those sacrifices in this day and age. If for one second we thought that his writings were plagiarized, we wouldn't have this level of devotion in Jamaat back then and to this day as well. And alongside this, we find that the opponents, they're not consistent in their allegations or the perspective either. Initially, they accused the first Khalifa, of publishing the books of the Prophet ﷺ in his own name, and then realizing there was no evidence for this, they then began saying that the Prophet ﷺ would write the books and then get them corrected by his companions. And when accusations always chop and change, eventually this makes you realize that they are baseless and they're probably invalid, not very reliable. And just coming back to that statement now, coming towards the end, make amendments if there is room for improvement. We see statements like this in the Holy Quran and in the words of the of Hazrat Abu Bakr Raziyallahu ta'ala anhu, he once said, he said, if I deviate from the right path, show me the correct way. We know this was obviously never the case with Hazrat Abu Bakr Raziyallahu ta'ala anhu, but it's a statement of if rather than if, that rather than actually happening. This was the case with Prophet Islam asking others to make amendments if there's room for improvement. It doesn't prove he didn't know, that he did not know Arabic, and any reasonable person would understand this. And then last slide now, the best place is always obviously the Quran. And if we go there, we see from chapter 56, verse 80, none shall touch it except those who are purified, i.e., there's no requirement for a person to speak Arabic or to know Arabic to have deep knowledge of the Holy Quran. It's only that you be spiritually impure and you approach it with the pure intentions to understand the Holy Quran. Similarly, there's no prerequisite or evidence to suggest either from the Quran or from anywhere else that the latter day Messiah had to know Arabic. So even if the statement was true that the Prophet Islam didn't know Arabic, this doesn't negate his claim to prophethood, and really the allegation doesn't actually lead to an endpoint. So even if he didn't know Arabic, it doesn't mean he's false. I.e., if people are waiting for Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he was obviously from the Mosaic dispensation and he didn't know Arabic himself. So just to make the statement in itself it doesn't lead to an end goal of saying he was a false prophet. It's just something out there for the purpose of argument's sake, really. And yeah, so that's the end of it. Jazakallah for listening, guys.
Zakla Hamza, brilliant again as usual. As you know, this is an allegation which is very common, and people are going to continuously say it without any basis, as you said it right at the end, very rightly. So it's good to know. So Hamza, if someone did ask you, your as a Muslim, or does he even know Arabic? What would you say? A few
Um,
lines.
the first thing I'd say is I'd respond and say, okay, you're waiting for a prophet to come. You're waiting for Hazrat Isa alayhi salam to come. As I mentioned right at the end of the presentation, I said, look, um, he's from the Mosaic dispensation. He knew Hebrew. He didn't know Arabic himself. You're waiting for this person to come. If he didn't know Arabic, he's going to lead the whole Muslim ummah. How is that going to work? And then most likely they'll change the subject again and come back on you. But it's the same idea. It doesn't, even if he didn't know Arabic, it doesn't mean he's false. Basically, that's the key. I think that's the key thing.
Yeah, I think even just if you present any of the books to,
Mm.
they'll tell you themselves that no normal person who learned Arabic could write this.
Yeah,
That with my own eyes, how even just the Qasida, you guys know the Qasida, we learn it when we're young. Just that in
even
itself, the hard words. Even when I was in Jama, when we were learning it, every word we had to look up in the dictionary, and each word had like 100 meanings to it. So just be able to choose that word in that moment, only someone who's been divinely inspired can write something like that. So obviously we know, but looking from the outside, it's always important to look from that perspective and ask the question. So we need to be ready for both sides. Mubarak, I don't know, can I just come to you quickly? I know people do make this allegation. Have you ever heard of it while you were growing up?
And not much, because this was not our, because to discuss this, our opponent should have depth knowledge about this subject. So they usually go for top three allegations, which are Sadaqat Masih Maud, Khatm Nabuwat, and Wafat Masih.
Mm.
So they never go for that because that contain a depth of knowledge.
I think also because people, they can't contest with it as well, because if they don't have
Exactly.
the knowledge themselves, how can they make the allegation? And that's what happened during the time of Hazrat Masih Islam. People thought that they knew Arabic. So
Yeah.
Masih would quietly listen to them and take it all in, and he would say, okay, what does this mean? Or you've used this word in the wrong way. So he would teach them himself the language.
Hazrat Masih Maud wrote the explanation of Surah Fatiha for 70,000 words, and he claimed that if anyone will write like this or up, I think half of it, he claimed that he will give 1,000 rupees at that time if
yeah.
anyone will write that. So this is the knowledge of Hazrat Masih Maud, which was definitely, we can say, that revealed by Allah as well, and the main proof of the Arabic, the Hazrat Masih Maud learned is from Ibrahim Ahmadiyya, because first two books which was published and wrote by Hazrat Masih Maud was in pure Arabic. That the what we can say, the Molvis of that time, the high profile Molvis cannot be able to read and understand the Brahine Ahmadiyya in Arabic form.
They would praise it. They would say it's the best thing ever
Yeah, they
written from
said
the
that
top.
it's
Yeah,
Aankh ka Tara, apple of an eye at
yeah.
that time.
GT again, alhamdulillah. And Jazakallah guys for the contribution as well. So before we go to Zaria Abtas, it's going to be a quick one today. In this week in the news, more Jamaat news really. This week where the Zurachi comes out just after Khuddam night finishes actually. So I just wanted to catch up with that just quickly with everyone. It was a really good one as well, quite funny. So Azur spoke to the Ghanaian missionaries. So I'll just play 1 or 2 minutes from it because I found it very heartwarming, and you can see from Azur's eyes how much love he has for the Africans, especially for the Ghanaians, because of course he spent so many years there. So just by the way he talks to them, you'll see yourselves how much love he expresses to them.
Walaikum salam. My name is Abdul Hakim Odro, Volta Zona missionary. Acha, mashallah. Did you do Shahid or you completed your Mubashir? I've completed Shahid. Acha, mashallah. Then तुम उर्दू बोल सकते हैं फिर आप तो? Alhamdulillah. थोड़ी बोलता हूँ. थोड़ी बोलते हैं जिसको थोड़ी कहनी आ जाए ना वो अच्छी बोलता है. नहीं जिसको नहीं आती वो थोड़ा कहता है. हैं? थोड़ी कहा बोली अच्छी बोली. अच्छा माशाल्लाह.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abdul Hamid Ismail Befi, Zona Missionary Asan.
अच्छा zonal missionary. You also did शायद.
जी हाँ.
अच्छा उर्दू अच्छी आती है लिखनी.
थोड़ी बोलता हूँ.
थोड़ी कहते हैं मुझे उर्दू में खत लिखा करें तो ठीक हो जाएगी. ठीक? Right? You should write to me in Urdu.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Pyare Huzur.
Wa
My name is Movi Muhammad Ishaq Opoku, Kaswa Zona Missionary.
Acha, mashallah. So you also did Shayad?
Anji.
Are you the first batch missionary?
Yes, please. The first Zona Missionary.
No. When did you complete your Jamia Ahmadiyya?
Second batch.
2018. Acha, mashallah. So all Ghanaian missionaries who are originally from Ghana have completed their Shahid and they know Urdu should write to me in Urdu. Their personal letters, 1 letter every month. Not your reports, but personal letter.
Inshallah.
Okay? 5-6 लाइनें ही लिखा करें, लेकिन उर्दू में लिख के मुझे बताया करें. ठीक है. Right.
Zuri Anwar, may Allah be his helper, also emphasized the importance of reading the words of the promised Messiah alayhi salam in Urdu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is Molvi Abdul Jabbar Adam, Zonal Missionary Tamale.
Acha, mashallah, missionary Tamale. If you write to me in Urdu, agar mujhe Urdu mein likho, then you will be able to read the books of the Prophet Messiah in its original form. Right? Do you read the books of the Prophet Messiah in its original form?
Yes, I do, but not very often.
You should read Malfuzat very often. Right? Okay,
sir.
Next.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Pyare Huzur, mera naam Muhammad Kwe, Zona Missionary Bolgatanga.
MashaAllah, tum kamyab ho gaye zonal missionary. You are the successful missionary. MashaAllah.
The national Amir.
So that's a little taster of what it was, and it's really nice to see Huzur smile. And
Rabbi sahab, we should talk in Urdu as well. Huzur emphasized a lot importance of Urdu, but we are like going for English. That's not good. जैसे कहते हैं ना, उर्दू का एक शेर है कि वो शेर था, उर्दू है जिसका नाम, हम ही जानते हैं दाग, सारे जहां में धूम हमारी जुबान की. I don't think you got it. And your face expression is telling me that you didn't get
it.
Thodi as well.
Huzur did instruct when you live in this country, you should conduct your meetings in English.
Yeah, because we have sometimes we have general meetings and we have Muzaffar Clark Saab, and I know he's just listening. I know he can't understand anything that's going on because obviously it's in Urdu. So he has said a few times, can you please say it in English? So because we do live in an English country.
That's why Azul says the country that you're in, you should speak that language when it's a meeting. You should think, even if there's one person who doesn't understand that language, then you should start speaking the local language. And I know it's the same case if you go to Germany. You know, the Amir will be conducting their meetings in German. Even the Darisane, they'll have to be in the local language. Even in Canada as well, it has to be in English as well. So yeah, Urdu's 100%. It's a beautiful language, and we have to know it. And you have to, guys who don't know it, you have to strive to continue to learn it. But there is a time and place as well. About it's a good point to make, and Rizajab as well. Tika, now we're just going to finish off, guys, with Kahoot. So, Zarab, could you just get that ready for us and let us know what Kahoot will consist of today? Who won it last week? Remember? Was it Hanan? No,
it wasn't Hanan last week. Hanan came fourth. I don't remember, you know.
Kashif and Saqib came second. Need to keep a record, man.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I'll get a chartboard.
You need to, man. Go through the whole history.
Yeah. It's online. It's on the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Just check them out.
Zarab, go through all of them again. Let's try and make a little chart. Let's make a little chart.
Okay then.
Leaderboard.
League
table. Because still thinks he's the best.
Trust, man. I've been here for a few weeks.
His ratio is quite good though. Probably 3 and 3 maybe. Ghana.
Thodi aati hai.
There's a joke by Mubarak Siddiqui Sahab that if you when you listen to poetry and whether or not you know the poetry, like whatever the guy is saying, right? In poetry, you just have to say the wawa in poetry.
Wawa.
Even if you don't know it. as long as you say wawa.
Wawa.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay then, I think that's it then, isn't it? Just 10 questions today, boys.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, so Khuddam memory test. So where did the woman with the letter of information hide the letter? Was it in the bag, in the shoe, in the hair, or in her sleeves?
Oh, look at my answers, yeah? No. Caught this guy cheating. Is Anas doing it today?
Yeah, probably. It was indeed in her hair. Yeah, she opened up her juda, they call it her bun, and it was in there.
Yeah, a jura.
There's a question. Who did we already mentioned this so many times. So who did the Holy Prophet ﷺ compare his relationship with Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu with? Was it Jesus and John the Baptist, Moses and Harun, Noah and his ark? Or, yeah, everyone got that. Okay. Where was milk chocolate invented?
Ooh. No, I don't know. I think it's Switzerland.
Yeah, it is Switzerland.
I got it wrong.
It was quite a journey actually, where they invented it because they couldn't get it right, and then they started using condensed milk. But before that, it was only dark chocolate that people used to eat.
Yeah. Ooh, 1883.
Daniel and his chalky facts, right? I would also mention this as well. What did the Meccans want changed from the peace treaty between the Muslims and the Meccans?
Crazy with this as well, how the Holy Prophet he told Ali, even though he's unlettered, he told us Ali that show me where it says Rasulullah and I'll cross it out. So even then people say he's unlettered, but he recognized words as well.
Okay, and the amount of conditions they put, like you can only do Umrah for 3 days, you can you have to come without weapons. I think one of the conditions was, and you can't even do Imra this year. Which company produces the most TVs? Sony, Samsung, Panasonic, LG. Yeah, Samsung, they are killing it with technology, to be fair.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Samsung produces the most TVs. He's the issue, mate. I saw on it and that man jumped up. Which of these companies owns Packard Bell? If you don't, I don't know if people know, but obviously everyone remembers Packard Bell used to be quite a big computer company, but it's now owned by one of these four.
Packard Bell Technologies.
Yeah, ASAT. So Packard Bell was originally a Dutch company, but now it's owned by Acer, which is a company from Taiwan. The laptops aren't that good in my experience.
But isn't HP Hewlett Packard?
Okay. Yeah, but they don't own it. Okay, this verse, Zalikal Kutabu La Rayba Fi. Does it say, is it this perfect book or is it that perfect book? I was watching a dars on this by Khalifa Rabi, so I thought it would be quite nice to include it.
I chose the wrong one, man.
Yeah, it is that perfect book. And Khalifa Rabi says in Urdu, he says, "Ye wo kitab hai, not ye kitab hai," because it's over there. It means you have to go to it, you have to attain to it, you have to reach the levels to get to it. Because if it was ye kitab or this perfect book, it means you'd already have it.
Yeah,
but because it's that.
The word Dhalika means that. So Dhalika Kitab, that book. If it was this book, it would be Hadal Kitab.
Okay, interesting.
I didn't read the question. I read it too quick. Didn't answer it.
Minor. Which of these make an LED light illuminate? Is it heat, electrons, mini light bulbs, or water? What makes an LED illuminate?
What does illuminate mean?
Is electrons, because the light bulb that Thomas Edison invented is a filament which gets heated, and because of the heat, the filament glows and therefore creates light. But a modern LED, which is a light emitting diode, is a diode where electrons run through it through electricity, and rather than heat, it's actually just electrons that make it illuminate. So that's why LED things are much more cooler than, as you can see, a light bulb will get very hot if you go near it, you can't touch it. So this is
knowledge to man. Oh my days.
That's a big difference.
No cash and sack today, just cash.
No
the sack has flown away.
I think no. True or false? Whilst in ruku, it is preferred to have your fingers spread open. So when you're reading that is indeed false. It is actually dispreferred. It's preferred to have your fingers closed up whilst in ruku.
Dispreferred, you know that word?
Nah, it's wrong. Last question, boys. How long is the average Sikh turban cloth? So the normal pug, not the patka, not the bandana one, the actual normal turban. How long do you think the cloth is? Yeah, it's actually a normal turban ranges from 3.5 meters to 6 meters in some cases.
Oh, I got it right.
So it does take quite long to wrap it around. So, and you know, I'll tell you after the results. Zubair, bhai.
Come on. Yes. Oh, the last question, did it? Is it me?
Yes. And about that turban, see, because of how much cloth they actually use, Sikhs have a law passed in the UK where when they ride a motorbike, they don't have to wear a helmet. Because of the protection. But yeah.
So just wear a turban instead. Is that your
Yeah, literally. It's actually a law.
That's good, man. MashaAllah.
There you
Brilliant.
go, boys.
Good job, Jazakallah. Always come up with random questions. I wonder how long Azur's turban is. I actually wore a turban for my wedding. Same one that Azur was.
Oh, the one with the same one with the flick on top as well.
Yeah.
Yo, you sent me some pictures of it.
How old are you? It's actually it's basically a gold topi. And then what they do with the thing, they damp it with starch, and you have to leave it to dry. So Zur's bodyguard actually did it for me. His name's Humayo as well. Actually. So when I wore it on my wedding day, Zur looked at me. He's like, "Humayo ne Humayo ke liye pagri banaya." Humayo made Humayo a pagri. So yeah, there's always everyone afterwards after my wedding, they came up to me and was like, "Can we hold the pagri? Can we see what it's like?" It's actually so beautiful, mashallah. And you realize how much effort Zur's like bodyguards go into making it.
Does he make one every day then?
They wrap it all the time, yeah.
Oh, okay.
After it's used, then they wash it, then they make it more. So it's just like a cloth, a really long cloth. You have to keep washing and ironing it out and everything. But yeah, that's my life. Jazakallah guys for joining. Jazakallah Zaryab, Haris, Shoaib, Kaitab. Can't forget Kaitab. And everyone else. Jazakallah. Okay, guys. We'll,
Sorry, I joined late. I was in a lecture.
I know, don't worry, it's okay. We have next week. We always give everyone a week at least to make up for it. So,
okay.
So inshallah, see you guys next week. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.